Prior to joining Triad, I had worked with the Department of Community and Economic Development as the legislative director there for the Governor Ed Rendell, the Rendell administration. Lonsky, who's the secretary at the time, and we had a pretty ambitious agenda, bond issue for numerous economic development, business infrastructure programs, and job programs, which we successfully implemented. With quite a bit of work on both sides of the aisle, we had to go through some negotiations, but it was an exciting time doing that legislation and also working with members of both the House and Senate, both the Republican caucuses and the Democratic caucuses, helping them understand or answer questions about projects, programs, etc. My experience prior to that was with the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. Worked there for 10 years, where I started as a research analyst, drafted legislation, constituent letters, did issue research, moved on to a regional delegation where I worked with a group of about 20 members from northeastern Pennsylvania on issues of regional significance. Have a little bit of expertise, if you would call it that, in economic development, community development, just working with folks who work with these programs, with businesses, with economic development professionals is one area. The energy area having overlapped with some of that. But I think really when you look at the government relations field, which I've been in it now about 5 years, but I think one of the things that you really need to be as a generalist, you need to understand a variety of issues. You're not an expert on everything. You can gain certain expertise in areas, but you have to be able to pick up, understand areas, but also know where you need to go to get the information you need to, be it the appropriate staff person, member, some professional organization, have those connections and an understanding to get the information on a timely basis that you need. But I think it's important, while there are areas of expertise, that you really have to be a generalist, and I mean, know enough about how to get the information you need on a timely basis for your client. I think it's one of the most important things as a government relations specialist you need to be able to do is listen to the client. I think first of all you got to listen, what are their needs, what are they, what do they really need. We all have certain skill sets, but I think what's important, you really have to listen to the client, what they need, rather than telling them what we can do for you. And I think we here at Triad, I think that's important. We want to hear what are your needs? What are your real needs? What we may say is, have you thought about it in a certain way, or to accomplish something in a certain way, coming together as a team to suggest that. But I think you have to listen first, and then from there, that's how you maybe offer some insights and develop a strategy to move on and ultimately achieve success. I think there are several things we do. I think we try to, we hear the issues or the problems that our client has, their needs, to try to solve them, working, be it on a piece of legislation or an amendment to legislation or a regulation to get that done, or to defeat that if it's not in the best interest of the client. We also can do a variety of objectives, be it with funding for an important project, working with state agencies, programs, etc. But I think all this is predicated on the relationships you build in both the executive, legislative branches with other trade groups and other organizations in the business and nonprofit communities to effectively do your job. That's the way that you're able to understand people, understand where they come from, their motivations, and what they need, and really do the best job for your client. Team is an important aspect, and one of the things I think that makes Triad a unique government relations, public relations consulting firm. I think it's public relations is the right term, but I think we even do so much more than that, whether it be from the traditional lobbying, government relations services, communications, media services, or whether it be with social media, with building relationships with the business community and the nonprofit sectors. I think you need that diverse type of company who has an understanding of a lot of different important areas that's really crucial to better serving clients, I think, in today's public affairs world. On the lobbying side, we all have our background, and most of us are either Democrats, Republicans, have served in Democratic or Republican administrations, or for legislators or caucuses from either from the Senate or House as Democrats or Republicans. I think over that time, we all build bipartisan relationships, but it is still very important to recognize that each firm, the members of each firm, have more strengths maybe than others do, and stronger relationships in certain areas. I think it's important, and I think what we do here, and my colleagues at Triad, which I'm very fortunate, there's an unselfishness about sharing our relationships to get the other person who may be working on that client in the door, to talk to them about the issue, you know, whether it be a meeting on the Hill, you know, sharing an idea for getting together, or getting a group of legislators together to introduce them to an issue. It's important that we share and we not be selfish with those relationships. It makes us do our job better, and when people see Triad, they think of Triad as a bipartisan firm committed to getting things done, who they can trust, and I think we have a great team that does that here. I think at Triad we don't have egos getting in the way of getting the job done. What's really important is if someone has a relationship that benefits another member here on an issue with a client they're working, you share that relationship. You share it with the client, I think, because overall I think it's an important thing that we really practice what we preach here, and not withholding our you know, our contacts or our information, because it really, to benefit the group, it's better, and it can only make for a more successful engagement when you tap into everyone's expertise and relationships. You know, technology has opened up the world. I mean, everything is local, if you will. You had the old cliche by former House Speaker Tip O'Neill, all politics is local. Well, it really is now. We have a lot of social mediums that you can work from. Information spreads very quickly from the communication side and the media side. When we're in the Hill and we hear or see hear information. Well, I saw this blog post about this issue about transportation, and it was very interesting, and saw that, yeah, you guys did that, made some good points. That helps us and builds us as the folks in the Hill when we're talking to legislators about public policy areas. Probably one of the more satisfying recent issues was a piece of legislation worked with one of our principals here, Mike Acker, on during the last legislative session on misclassification in the construction industry, ways to combat that, to ensure that projects are done right, it was a very difficult issue to some degree, but it was one of those examples where I think the bipartisan relationships, working with members in both chambers, understanding their needs, their motivations, all came together. So we got a bill passed when I think we had just introduced a similar piece at the end of the previous session, and I would think not a lot of people gave that a chance in the General Assembly to move forward. But was proud of that. But there are other things, but that's one of them.